Thanks for staying with us. Now, June 15 is celebrated as the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day to educate people about the abuses suffered by senior citizens. The theme for World Elder Abuse Day is access to justice, which serves as a reminder of how critical it is to completely meet the needs of older people who may seek remedy. To celebrate this day, connect with your colleagues, your community group, friends, or family over a cooper, either in person or online. Everyone wears something purple. We're not complying. The official color for the World Elder Abuse Day, that's purple, wear something purple. Then also take some photos or screenshots in a Zoom meeting, or snap a group shot of everyone staring their cooper. So this is actually close to home for me, elders, because I took care of my grandpa before he died, shortly before he died. I mean, he always used to say that he prayed that he never became a vegetable. You know, he wanted God to just take his life if anything happened to his health and it deteriorated, because he didn't want the situation where he would watch his children become a burden to them. So I remember clearly when I knew that he wanted to go I think he had a partial stroke. So we're trying to get him to go to the pass stool and all of that. So my mom said we should make green soup and all of that, blah, blah, blah. We did all of that. So me and my cousin is quite big. She's big, she's hefty. So we held him, put a bucket, we're trying to make him pass stool and gas and all of that. That day he was just looking at us. He couldn't speak, but tears were just running down his eyes. So as I was going back to school, I knew. So shortly after I went back to school, they called me that he had passed. He was 80, Grandpa was 86, I think, when he died. So.
Yeah, my grandparents who lived up until 2 years ago and 3 years ago.
Wow.
So I was lucky with them. One was 96 and the other was 90.
Wow.
So I thought they were never going to go. So it was shocking for me when I heard
my granddad is still alive.
Really?
My mom's dad.
Oh, that's lovely.
Very strong man.
Oh.
How old is he?
Strong man.
Oh.
You know how they count their age now, they tell you something. I think 90 something.
Yeah.
I think he's the oldest in the village right
Wow.
now. So he's still there.
Very
But for me, what I want to really say, and also to our viewers, I know when we commemorate these days, it's usually at the end of the day, and maybe we're just reminding you. But for a day like this, you don't necessarily have to do what we are saying today.
You can still
as well reach out tomorrow to the elders around you or elders in your family to just make them feel loved.
Have a cup of tea, a cooker.
It's not a bad thing to be old. We all want to get old, right? So we know our celebration comes like at the end of the day, but it is not cast in stone that you have to do it on that very day.
Because
so whatever
it's already 8 p.m.
If it's something you can take over to the next day, please do. And invite the culture.
It's an important thing to do. But let me hear Uti's thoughts on elderly people.
Well, I'm grateful that we are in this part of the world because no matter how bad it seems, I would posit that our elders have it better than other countries.
Yes.
I have seen situations where people in their 70s are in the supermarket trying to buy their food, and their hands are shaking. They're trying to count their money, and it's not nice to see. When you don't have a culture where people end up in homes. I mean, we've seen the stories around COVID and how elderly people were dying, across other countries in the world. So, I mean, there's always something to be thankful for. I'm thankful for the culture that we have that puts a culture that is around family and allows us to have our elderly ones around us, live with us. I grew up with my grandmother in the house. In fact, my love of cooking and food today stems from the times that I spent with her. She had her stool and I had my little bench. And, right from, little age, I would be there plucking water leaf or uku and all those experiences. And they just shape who you are. So any time that we can spend with them, we don't have, the time ahead of them is a lot less than the time behind them. So we don't have a lot of time to spend with them.
Absolutely.
So really great that we can acknowledge them. One day a year is not enough, but it's good to at least.
Absolutely. Like Elsie said, it's not cast in stone. Reach out, please. So quickly, we're running out of time. Let me come to you, Uti, first. Take your story. Let's just do quick.
Okay, so my story is just a quick one. Problem no dey finish in Nigeria, as we like to joke. 95%. My headline says 95% of blood donor units in Nigeria are unsafe. And this is pretty much the country saying that the WHO recommends that Nigeria have 2 million units of safe blood, whereas we only have 25,000. Lagos alone requires 260,000 units because of the growing demand. But we only have 25,000 across the country. And this is even predominantly coming from like families. So that donor system, that we don't have a culture of blood donation. Most of what we get is from family or paid donors. And of course, with paid donors, you run the risk, if the blood is not properly screened, for diseases like HIV, Hep B, Hep A, Hep B, syphilis. So, I mean, there are a lot of risks to it. Nigeria is an extreme country. We have so many issues, but sometimes it's just good for us to shine a light to understand that, the problems are plenty and they are so real. So, yeah.
Yesterday we had taken the story on because yesterday was World Blood Donor Day. And I was saying to Elsie, like I said, I don't know what the structure is like in Nigeria, but I know that as simple as a piercing or tattoos, you can't give blood abroad. So, I mean, hearing this now was just like, okay, now you know why, probably it's risky taking blood in Nigeria, but
yeah, for me, I like that we are shining light on having this sort of conversation, but it still takes me back to how our data is just not reliable. Because I'm seeing 25,000. This is, like I said yesterday, I've never donated blood, but I have been in that space where we do the job in terms of encouraging people and getting people to do the right thing. And as at 2019, and I don't know if you know LifeBank. LifeBank is so they, and the statistics they put out was saying we had 66,000 units in Nigeria at the time. So how did we move from 66,000 to 25,000? What is happening? And if you're saying the blood is unsafe, why is it unsafe? Is it that you're not testing them before getting this blood, or when you put them on the shelf, it gets you? What exactly is the cause? So I don't know. The conversation,
is very important.
Yeah, it's supposed to stay for 6 weeks on the shelf, except you have way more better facilities.
I have donated blood before because I took someone to the hospital who desperately needed blood. So they compelled me to donate blood. I think that's what they do in government hospitals.
Yes.
We still bought the blood and they had to replace it by compelling me to donate blood.
Yes. And you were not tested or anything? You just,
I think I was.
I was screen your
but
blood.
I think I felt violated. Why do you have to compel me?
It's compulsory in government hospitals. Even when you are pregnant and you want to go and have a child, your husband is compelled, rather, it's compulsory for him to donate blood.
I'm not
even if you do not need it at the end of the day.
It's a compulsion that's
the standard in government hospitals. But let's take your story.
It is a violation of my human rights.
Okay, so we continue with blood matters.
It's part of the corruption we're talking about.
We will bring it back later. So let us hear your story.
You can appeal to me, but to compel me. But because that person needed that blood that day, I was under compulsion to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your story?
My story is about the trending open grazing and all that's going on in the country. Quite a number of people are, they want the National Assembly to legislate on it, to, eradicate it by law. But unfortunately, the National Assembly does not have the powers to do that because the Land Use Act is an integral part of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the Constitution is the ground norm. Don't know what that means, do you?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, that is the most important law, where all other laws derive their authority from. And the Land Use Act is a part of it. So it means the Land Use Act is a constitutional law. Do you understand? It's attached to our Constitution. So you cannot divest it from the Constitution. And what the Land Use Act says is that every land in every state is vested in the governor of that state, in trust for the people of that state. So the federal government cannot legislate for the states on anything that concerns land. So rather, I think the 36 states in Nigeria have to sit down and legislate, or as the southern states are going on, I think they have to go back to their individual I mean the House of Assembly.
State Assembly,
the House of Assemblies to legislate on it. So the National Assembly does not have
So why did you have so much drama when the governors were saying this is what we want?
They have the powers. That's why they don't know. They have the powers to legislate on it. So they can just corroborate and make it a Southern thing to even make it, you know,
A
like
better
every
legit
state.
document.
Yes, every state in the South legislate upon it. Open grazing is...
That's another
my uncle
conversation
told me
for another
today.
day.
My uncle told me today to be very watchful of my mouth, so I don't get into
please be
trouble.
watchful of your mouth. But I
That
saw
don't
something
get
on
in
Kano
trouble.
State, though, the Governor Granduje, that's his name, right? He said
Ganduje.
is it Ganduje?
Ganduje, yes.
He's trying to have a head count of all the headers
Ah.
that is in Kano and the ones that are from Kano but are not in Kano, because he's having some sort of plan where they'll have like an open. So he's trying, according to what I read, he's trying to ensure that they
structure
have
to
a
it.
structure.
Yeah.
But then it's not sounding like a business structure. It's sounding like you are helping these people who are the owners of these cows that they are.
And
they are
why do
pushing
they
around.
occupy
Yeah,
an
that's his thing.
important position in the society? Because
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, they are private entrepreneurs.
And
Why
they should
are
be
they
treated
always...
as such.
Yes, is it just not meat? Do they provide something else than meat?
Are you ready to go veg?
You said fish and
Let's take
chicken.
your
I
story.
take chicken.
Let's take your story, Elsie.
Okay. This is a bit of good news. Good news, I would say, really. The Nigeria NLNG held a ceremony today, Tuesday, to mark the commencement of the construction of its $10 billion Train 7 project. The project aims to boost Nigeria's liquefied natural gas output by 35%. It is expected to add around 8 million tons a year of liquefied natural gas to NLNG, taking the total to around 30 million tons per year. And this will, of course, create 12,000 direct jobs. We're not talking of the indirect job or people that work on the project as it goes on. So this is really fantastic. And, of course, their revenue over the year is about $114 billion. They've given government tax of $39 billion so far, and then dividends of the federal government in it is about $18 billion. So I like that they are paying attention to the liquefied gas, and there is a lot to be done in that area as well. So kudos to them. We did not get to see what the timeline for the project is, but we hope that it is completed as soon as possible.
Awesome. All right, so I'll just quickly run through mine.
I'm not interested. You know what? If it's not a solution to the impending security challenges we have in Nigeria, honestly, I don't score the government
Gas flaring. Have you been to South? Gas flaring is serious issues.
I
There.
know. But
Serious
right
issues.
now, if it's not...
So, sorry there. So I just want to quickly touch on this protest because I think it's also tied to what we will talk about. River State College of Health, Science and Management Technology, the students are protesting. They said no light, no water, and they've not been able to, you know, they've not had light for a while. They are not reading because there's no light. I mean, I saw a lady's what's it called, signpost, where she said, I mean, they menstruate and, you know, they are sore and there's no light, there's no water. I mean, so I just put myself in her shoes. Imagine you're on your period and you're going through. So for me, I think this is a failure of leadership, because I've been to a university, even when things are going wrong, right? If the head is good, there are ways to internally generate funds for these kinds of things, right? Already in Nigeria, we're already providing our light, we're already providing our water. So why can't the university put a structure that takes care of light and water? Do you still have to wait for a government to do that? I mean, so that's River State College of Health. Please, whatever it is. So people, they are now calling for the resignation of the provost. You know, so but we'll talk about it more when we come back, because it's also part of this is a public institution.
No, but
right?
the saddening part for me is this is a state that is already producing.
Let's take a break. When we return from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.